Hi, my name is Laura Leslie, and this is week 3 of my Freedom Practicum with Pastor Brady Daniel. And this week we had the privilege of being able to do a topical class. Pastor Elizabeth Settle at the Gateway campus in Southlake did a session over insecurity, and it was titled Things That Go Bump in the Night, which I felt was a perfect title for just when we have our eyes not fixed on the Lord, but fixed on other things like insecurity or anything that's not of the Lord. It can definitely go bump in the night. And insecurity was something that I personally had struggled with early on, and especially in the teenage years of high school, where you're just really awkward in general. And basically she just told us to trust your equipment. And she used to do a lot of rock climbing, and she basically talked about just the slack of the rope and just trusting that if you let go, that there would be the slack would come, and there's like a certain, like an anchor, how she described it. I've never done rock climbing before, but this was her analogy. But basically to trust your equipment, and in the spiritual realm our equipment is Jesus, of course, so that we basically need to trust Jesus. And she talked about just when we trust Jesus we can be more restful, and that we as Christians sometimes misplace our security with insecurity. And she just referenced just God's power and a bunch of scripture in Psalms, and just wanting to tell us to pour out our heart to Him, because when we pour out our heart to Him, intimacy is created, and we can be vulnerable with Him, and that's where trust is able to be birthed out of just trusting Him and being vulnerable. We just talked basically about God's power and not our own power, and just wanted us to really ask ourselves, are we trusting in ourselves or are we trusting in God? And a lot of days I can see that I'm trusting in myself rather than God, and that's not our invitation, is not to perform. And basically the number one thing that casts out insecurity is love, and God's love. And when we have that perfect picture of focusing on God and focusing on His love and His power for us, that insecurity just leaves, that there's no room for insecurity. It was just really, really impactful experience to be able to see through freedom other people getting freedom. There was people that got ministered to afterwards, and watching them and making sure that the supervisors or the prayer team wasn't talking too much, because freedom is all about initiating what is God saying to these people and hearing God for themselves, because we can just give advice all day long, but if people are not going to receive it, then our advice is just pointless, that they need to hear God for themselves. So that was my main impact, was that we need to allow God to, in other words, be ushered in, and for people to hear His voice and what He has to say and His guidance in their own insecure walk or whatever they're going through, that they hear God through it all. And that was my week, and I look forward to next week. Thank you.